Welcome to this video. Going to, I don't know, check out a Ryan Holiday video, kind of react all the way through, share with you some things that come from various educational disciplines and social sciences and stuff, as our relative Ryan Holiday shares as with regard to sobriety. And this is one of my favorite talks, one of my favorite videos that he's given. I share it in treatment communities all the time. I myself am working on another day of sobriety. Um, I got 24 years and almost, this is at, at this month, the 29th will be 25 years of sobriety. So the things he's sharing in here are solid. I also serve in a chaplaincy role and I speak at two different treatment programs here in the city I live. And so, being a chaplain, I've come to understand that I need to be a chaplain to all the clients, not just the ones that have a connection to the creator. And so I try to figure out ways, non-religious ways, and then I try to think of other disciplines. And so our relative Ryan Holiday is going to share the Stoicism, the philosophy background, and I'm looking forward to commenting on this. He's got some good stuff here, so let's jump in.
We're all slaves, Seneca says. He says, actually, show me someone who isn't a slave. He said, this person to ambition, this one to their mistress, this one to wine. He was talking about how so many of us.
We're all slaves, and scripture says we're all sinners. There's none righteous. No, not one. Not in all the church buildings, not in the Vatican, you name it. There's none righteous. I'm just a common human being. That's what that translates to. Have pity on me, grandfather, the creator. I'm just a common human being.
Even if we're powerful, even if we're rich, even if we're famous, we're addicted to something.
Case in point, take those away from people. Take the phones away from people and see what happens. America would, and most of the world would implode.
Maybe you can't start your morning without coffee, or a cigarette, or a drink. Or maybe you can't go to bed without doing those things or some other thing, right? We all have addictive tendencies. But addiction comes when that thing gains full and complete power over us, when we are powerless to not do that thing.
Yep, out of balance. Dakota Lakota teaching, the holy men, the holy women, the medicine men, medicine women, the elders and ancestors teach when an addiction shows up, you're out of balance. You've been in a bad relationship with the medicine. Whatever you've been using to medicate yourself and numb yourself, you've been in a bad relationship. You need to come back to balance. So
I'm Ryan Holiday. I'm the author of a number of books about Stoic philosophy. I've spoken about it to the NFL and the NBA, sitting senators, special forces leaders. I'm also a human being with my own addictive tendencies and my own demons that I've battled, workaholism being the darkest and the hardest of one. It's also a reason that I don't drink, don't do drugs. So I know I have that part of me, and I know it's not a part of me that I want to enable. Well, in today's episode, we're going to talk about what the Stoics teach us about sobriety, about discipline, about getting clean, keeping clean, taking control of ourselves, and how we battle these very timeless and very human addictions, and what Stoicism can teach us on that day-to-day journey. All right, so walk me through, how does Stoicism help you get sober?
People think that rehab, people who haven't been, I think they have this preconceived notion that there's like this pill they give you and suddenly it just all goes away,
Sure.
And you go to rehab and you come out and things are just fine. And what I realized it was for me is it's a deep dive into why we make the choices we make and why we're so self-destructive.
Yeah.
Well, after you start understanding more about what is kind of triggering you on this journey, the answer to these kind of insecurities is discipline, and it is a structure. And people,
I always share with the clients right at this point. This is a frequent pause point when we watch this video together. That what he's talking about here is a value in most faith communities. So, case in point, Scripture, New Testament says that some of the fruits of this are a fruit of the spirit. A fruit of the spirit is self-discipline. In Dakota Lakota way, indigenous spirituality, disciplining yourself, and a way of being in the community was self-discipline. And then you can name the religions after it. Self-discipline is so the creators called them from the path of wandering to the path of self-discipline.
It's funny, as I've
Indeed, all humans.
read more as I get older and the more things I've taught myself, I've realized that a lot of the spiritual practices or a lot of books that I've read are almost saying the same thing in different ways.
Sure.
Like the theme that I found most important to me is that, for lack of a better word, discipline is destiny.
Yeah.
And that has been my way out of the turbulence in my life back in the day.
Yeah, I think like if anyone's ever been to physical therapy or rehab from an injury, you get the sense that it's like, oh, I'm going to be worked on. Like I'm going to go and I'm going to get massages or this kind of treatment or this medicine. But really they're like, no, here's the work that you have to do, right? And it's the same for, I think, the other forms of rehab. You don't go there and then they're like, here are all the secrets to not drinking or doing this or that anymore. What they're like is, here are the things that you have to do every single day of your life. Like, as they say it works if you work it, right?
And another pause point. This is where I tell them that take what you like and leave the rest. Stoicism might not be your thing, but at least listen and consider. That's what my job is as one of the chaplains. I don't like using that title for me. I just would rather be, person that just call me Bobby. That's it. And I tell them that. But just take into consideration what we're sharing. You've tried your way, and the Al-Anons are right. If nothing changes, nothing changes. What are you going to do now? Take these things into consideration and see and try something. Treat your addiction like a scientist would. Trial and error, do these things and then take notes along the way and see what works.
Like if you do that work, then you'll stay sober. If you don't do that work, you won't. And it's really, really hard work. It's like the hardest work because it's on yourself and it's against habits or practices or assumptions you've had your whole life. In recovery circles, they have this great acronym, HALT, stands for hungry, angry, lonely, or tired. The point is, when you're feeling those things, when you haven't been sleeping enough, when you haven't been eating right, when you're isolated, whatever it is, you're less likely to be able to be the strong-willed, disciplined, healthy, safe, smart person that you want to be. The Stoics weren't superhumans. They didn't, because they read a couple of these texts, never have cravings, never slip, never mess up. And in fact, a big part of Stoicism is that kind of self-awareness, monitoring why you're feeling what you're feeling, stopping when you feel that feeling and going, why am I feeling this way? Am I feeling frustrated, upset, like I need to do this thing that I told myself I'm trying to stop doing? Do I need to do it, or do I just feel that way because of some other thing that I've been neglecting or not taking care of? There's a great study I saw a couple years ago that found that the majority of arguments between spouses were rooted in one or more of them being hungry, right? So if you're mad at yourself for falling off, if you're mad at yourself for not being the disciplined, stoic, and complete and total self-command of themselves, stop and think about that acronym. Ask yourself, hey, what's actually going on with me? And am I setting myself up for success generally, but then specifically in this moment, what voice inside me am I listening to? What is the context in which I'm considering this or thinking this or reacting this? Seneca says that philosophy doesn't take away natural feeling. It doesn't matter how many books you've read, how steeped in stoicism you are. If you're hungry, angry, lonely, tired, you're not going to be your best self. And thinking about that is a really, really important part of making better decisions. Over and over and over again, more than 40 times in meditations, he talks about being of service to the common good, doing things for other people. He says our job is to put up with people or to help them, right? Pick one of those, right? And I love this idea. We should not just give help, but get help. We should not just get help, but give help. Be of service to as many people as possible.
In Dakota Lakota way, what Ryan is talking about here is a way of being to, when you have a vision, you go up on a hill, you do that ceremony, crying out for a vision, hamblacha. When you go out and you do that, that isn't just for you. It has an application to the community too. And so it's just not for yourself. It's supposed to touch the family. It's supposed to touch the friends, the community. the Tiyoshbaye, the community, and then um, the Oyate, all of humanity. It's supposed to touch all of them. So, um, and and from a spiritual point of view, New Testament, the teacher says, Yehoshua says, "For the Son of Man did not come to be served, but to serve." And 12 Steps, AA says the same thing. The triangle says recovery, unity, and service. Might have got the order mixed up, but service is down there.
Possible to be and to do as much good as possible insofar as that is in our control. And this is why the idea of being of service, I think, is so developed into the 12 steps into sobriety, is that one of the best ways to lighten our burdens is to help someone with theirs. One of the best ways to get perspective on our own problems is to think of people, to spend time with people who are really, really struggling. And then one of my favorite ideas from Seneca is that we learn as we teach. As we help, we're helping ourselves. This is something that when the world feels like it's falling apart, when it feels like we can't possibly make a difference in the big scheme or scope of things, what we can do is help our neighbors, our families, the stranger on the street. We can make a difference in a very small way. That's in our control. To me, that's actually the essence, not just the essence, but the highest point of Stoicism.
Jim Quick talks about this. So if you don't know who that is, Jim Quick with Quick Brain, KWIK, Jim Quick. He says that one of the best ways to retain things is to teach them. And so what Ryan's talking about here is it's going to make sense when we're serving people and we're giving back to the community, when we share in group, when we share with community, when we share with our small group. Maybe it's just 2 to 3 of us sitting in a coffee shop, and just catching up and talking about how we're doing. When you give away, when you serve that community and you teach what you're learning, you're saying, "Hey, I learned this," and you share, like the prophet Yoda says, uh, give Ray all those good things, but give her the greatest teacher, failure, and so, man, good stuff.
We don't overindulge because it's a violation of the key virtue of temperance, the right amount, moderation in all things, the Stoics would say, although some things not at all. Nobody is having less fun than the glutton or the addict, the Stoics would say. If the pleasure means you wake up with a hangover, it's not really so pleasurable, is it? So it's about moderation, it's about temperance, it's about finding the right amount of things.
Balance. Balance is huge. Out of balance, you're in a bad relationship with this thing, this created thing. Got to come back. Everything in moderation.
The essence of Stoic philosophy is being in command of yourself. In fact, Seneca says, "No one is fit to rule who is not first master of themselves." And the reason we're not masters of ourselves is we give that power over to someone or something else, right? Drugs, alcohol, cigarettes, right? Codependency. That's the tragedy of addiction. Not only is it bad for the person, but often we can become addicted to our relationship with different addicts, right? The Stoics, it was about being in control of yourself, not your urges, not your desires. The Stoics look at Alexander the Great. Marcus Aurelius he looks at Alexander the Great as someone who is super powerful, but not actually powerful because he can't stop. There's never enough. Seneca himself actually defines poverty as not having too little, but wanting more. More is all you need, as the great Metallica song, Master of Puppets goes. That is such a dark and slavish place to be. So the reason we battle our addictions, the reason we try to get clean, the reason we practice discipline, so we can be fit to be good parents, to be leaders, to be bosses. Like, if we're not in command of ourselves, if something or someone, some urge or some substance, if that's really what's ruling our life, that is not a good place to be. It's really simple. There's all the things in the world that happen, and then there's the tiny, tiny bit of it that you control. All the things that happen in a little dot that you control. The Stoics call this the dichotomy of control. There's some stuff that's up to us, some stuff that's not up to us. The chief task in life, Epictetus said, he was a former slave. He knew all about unfortunate realities. He said the chief task in life is discerning what's up to us and not up to us, what's in our control, not in our control. This is also the brilliance of the Serenity Prayer. That's the key. Is this up to me? Then it should deserve 100% of your energy. If it's not up to you, if you can't influence, if you can't control it, then it's none of your concern. All the things that can happen, tiny bit that you control.
Good stuff. The teacher says, Yehoshua teaches that why do you see the speck of dust in your brother's eye, something you can't control, and not see the log coming from your own eye, you know? First remove the thing that's obstructing your sight, your understanding, and then you'll see clearly to help your brother. And you're not guaranteed to be invited to that work. However, the first thing that needs to happen is you need to change the one thing that you can, and it's you. That's in your control. Don't be worrying about things that don't matter. And Ryan's hitting on that. So our Stoic relatives, our philosophy relatives, they got some good medicine here.
And we're at the screening the night, the movie premieres, and Quentin Tarantino is there. And suddenly I'm like literally amongst the people I so look up to. And I wake up the next morning and the reviews are coming in and the reaction's great. And I immediately tell everyone in the house, I'm saying that I need to leave right now. I'm getting on a plane. I'm out of here. And people are screaming at me. They said, Josh, why? Like, this never happens and it may never happen again. And you're going to leave, enjoy this. And as soon as I was a member of the club, it's that great saying, like, I never wanted to be part of a club that would have me as a member. And it was one of the most impactful moments of my life that I realized, good or bad, at the highest of the high or the lowest of the low, I am bottomless, and nothing, be it food, drugs, or prestige, can fill up this hole in my soul. And I got sober 2 weeks later, and I think it's undoubtedly correlated, that sort of spiritual bottom.
And it is inevitable that we will fall short. Marcus did, I do, everyone does. Antoninus Pius probably did too, which is why in Meditations, Marcus Aurelius says to pick yourself back up when you fall, but he also says to celebrate the fact that you're a human being. What matters, he says, is that you come back to the rhythm of it. We're going to be jarred by circumstances. We're going to be messed up. We're going to slip on our diet, on our New Year's resolution, on the progress we were making. That's okay. What matters is that you get back up. What matters is that more often than not, you stick to it, that you always come back home to it.
I say this too, and I usually pause around this time during the talks too at the treatment centers. I'll say that if you fall down, you got to get back up. That's the biggest thing, even though I didn't. There were times where I would try to quit drinking and drugging, and I would just fail. You know, when you fall down, you got to get back up. Just because you fail today doesn't mean you're going to fail tomorrow. Get back on the horse, call somebody, text your counselor, text um, your group leader or your sponsor, or even somebody that you're accountable to, maybe in the faith tradition. But text someone, your ride or die, your best friend forever. You can say, "Hey, man, I didn't use today, but I used something else, but you gotta get back on the horse, and part of that is acknowledgement. And so getting back on it, realizing that, man, I'm human. Like he said, celebrate that you're in this kind of, fall down, get back up, and that, that there's life there. There really is. And so don't be so hard on yourself. Gotta get back up. Gotta get back on that horse.
Accomplish something good with hard work, the labor passes quickly, but the good endures. And he says if you do something shameful in pursuit of pleasure, the pleasure passes quickly, but the shame endured. And this is the Stoics' idea of freedom. What leaves the residue and what doesn't? What has power over you and what doesn't? Who is in charge, right? Is it you or the urges? I think about this with my phone. Am I using the phone or is the phone using me? And when I can't not use the phone that says something about my relationship to it, I need to change, right? What rules your life? What has power over you? And what power do you need to take back? So you can enjoy the fact that legally we have incredible freedoms in this country, in this era, in this time, right? In this prosperity. The freedom that you have has to be enjoyed and lived up to. But first, that means freeing yourselves from a lot of things that we self-impose, right?
Before we get to Epictetus's quote here, I tell them also, our relatives that are in, trying to get sober, I'll say, look, you're not the only one that has to do this hard work of getting back into balance and thinking of yourself soberly. In fact, that little last few words that I just said, think of yourself soberly, is in scripture and it applies to the spiritual life. So, its application can be back here. Also, within the treatment community, within recovery circles, that we need to think of ourselves soberly. We are not the most important person. We need to realize that a lot of the things that we do need to be of service, and things like a lot of things that Ryan has talked about in the other steps before this. But I think that when they hear that, I usually see one or two people just kind of like their eyes will go up, like they're thinking about it, and that's good. Just take it into consideration.
Epictetus says it's better to starve to death in a calm and confident state of mind than to live anxiously amid abundance or to be dependent on something. The idea is that you live free or you live a kind of death, and that this pleasure turns very quickly into pain. The secret to strength, Marcus Aurelius says, is realizing that you have power over your own mind, not external events. When you realize you don't have control over what other people do, you don't have control over what happens in the world, you don't have control over the weather, you don't even have really control of the results of your own actions. All you control is what you do, what you say. You control how you respond to things. Realizing that you have the power over right here, that you control the empire between these ears. That's it. That's everything. But that is plenty to be in control of. That's so much. People only decide to utilize a small fraction of it. So realizing that you have control over your own mind, which seems like a little, but is actually an incredible amount to Marcus Aurelius, that is the secret to being strong and powerful. And that's what made him powerful, not the enormous Roman army, not the empire. What made him powerful is that he controlled his own thoughts, opinions, and actions. I hope you like this video. I hope you subscribe. But what I really want you to subscribe to is our daily Stoic email, one bit of Stoic wisdom.
All right, I haven't. I'm walking the talk, living. I'm subscribing now because I share his content a lot, so it help drive his numbers, and I already liked the video. I'm gonna put it up here real quick. I'll have to mute the video that plays in the background here. Oh, it muted by itself. Cool. This is the channel for those of you that are looking to consider things outside, maybe these disciplines, like spirituality, recovery, community. Stoicism has some good things for you to consider. Who knows? You might find something in there that'll change the trajectory and send a spiritual tsunami. And next thing you know, you have 6 months, and you're like, holy crap. And then next thing you know, you look back again and you're like, am I 3 years sober? It wasn't easy, but you're doing it. And so maybe stoicism is that thing. Go through that door. Back in the day, I used to be so rigid and be like, no, they can only find their their freedom and their hope within the pages of scripture or within our community here. I would tell you, I've learned from my errors, and I've recaptured the tribal knowledge of, and I get this from a tribal councilwoman from Spirit Lake. She said, and she was talking about non indigenous communities, and she said, take the good from non non-native communities, because there is good among our non-native relatives, and there's some good teaching. And so that's what I give to you, and it has a relatedness to what the Al-Anon say is take what you like and leave the rest. So I'm gonna finish with that. Thanks for watching. Definitely give Daily Stoic Ryan Holiday. He's got some books out there. Maybe read some philosophy, Meditations by Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus. Read some of these things, and who knows, it could be what you need. See ya.